The French Revolution began not with violent upheaval, but with a fiscal crisis that forced Louis XVI to convene the Estates General in May 1789, for the first time since 1614. This assembly of representatives from the three estates, clergy, nobility, and commoners, was intended to address France's dire financial situation, but it quickly became the vehicle for far more radical change than anyone had anticipated. The Third Estate's transformation into the National Assembly in June 1789, sealed by the tennis court oath, marked the beginning of the end for the Ancien Régime. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789, though largely symbolic, the fortress contained only 7 prisoners, became the revolution's most enduring symbol and demonstrated the Parisian populace's power to shape events. The great fear that swept the countryside in the summer of 1789 led to the abolition of feudalism on the night of August 4th, ending centuries of seigneurial privilege in a single session. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, adopted on August 26, 1789, articulated principles that would reshape not only France, but much of the world. Its assertion that men are born and remain free and equal in rights challenged the hierarchical assumptions that had governed European society for centuries. The document's influence extended far beyond France, inspiring liberation movements throughout Europe and the Americas. The early phase of the revolution, lasting from 1789 to 1792, attempted to create a constitutional monarchy that would preserve royal authority while establishing legal equality and representative government. The Civil Constitution of the Clergy, 1790, subordinated the Catholic Church to the state, requiring priests to take an oath of loyalty that split French Catholicism and created lasting religious divisions. The Constitution of 1791 established a limited monarchy with a unicameral legislature, but this compromise satisfied neither Democrats who wanted a republic nor conservatives who opposed any limitations on royal power. The revolution's radicalization accelerated with the outbreak of war in April 1792. The declaration of war against Austria, supported by both revolutionary war hawks who wanted to spread liberty abroad and royalists who hoped military defeat would restore royal authority, transformed the revolution from a domestic reform movement into a European crusade. The Duke of Brunswick's manifesto threatening to destroy Paris if the establishment of the empire in 1804 marked Napoleon's transformation from first consul to emperor, crowned by Pope Pius VII in Notre Dame Cathedral. This ceremony symbolically linked Napoleon to both Charlemagne's imperial tradition and the revolution's democratic legitimacy. The creation of a new nobility based on merit rather than birth provided rewards for military and administrative service while maintaining revolutionary principles of careers open to talent. Napoleon's military genius reached its zenith in campaigns like Austerlitz, 1805, Jena Auerstedt, 1806, and Wagram, 1809, that established French hegemony over continental Europe. The continental system, designed to exclude British trade from Europe, demonstrated Napoleon's understanding that economic warfare was as important as military conquest in the struggle against Britain. However, the system's economic disruption and the resentment it created among European populations contributed to the coalitions that would eventually defeat him. The disastrous Russian campaign of 1812 marked the beginning of Napoleon's downfall. The Grande Armée's destruction in the Russian winter demonstrated that even Napoleon's military genius had limits. The War of Liberation, 1813 to 1814, saw a coalition of European powers drive French forces back to France's borders and capture Paris in March 1814. Napoleon's abdication and exile to Elba seemed to end the revolutionary and Napoleonic era. The 100 Days, March-June 1815, represented Napoleon's dramatic return and final defeat at Waterloo. This brief period demonstrated both Napoleon's continued popularity among French soldiers and veterans, and the impossibility of recreating the Grande Armée's former strength. The Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815, definitively ended Napoleon's career and the Revolutionary Wars that had convulsed Europe for over 2 decades. The Bourbon Restoration, 1814 to 1830, under Louis VIII and Charles X, attempted to reconcile the old regime with revolutionary changes, but this balance proved increasingly unstable. The Charter of 1814 established a constitutional monarchy that guaranteed many revolutionary gains while restoring royal authority. However, the ultra-royalist policies of Charles X, particularly his attempt to compensate émigrés for lost property and restrict press freedom, alienated the middle classes who had benefited from the revolution. The July Revolution of 1830 demonstrated that the French people would not accept a return to absolute monarchy. The 3 glorious days of fighting in Paris drove Charles X from the throne and established the July monarchy under Louis Philippe, the citizen king. This regime, supported by the wealthy bourgeoisie, presided over France's early industrialization but failed to address the growing social problems created by economic change. The July monarchy's narrow social base and resistance to democratic reform created conditions for the Revolution of 1848. The February Revolution, sparked by the government's refusal to permit a reform banquet, established the Second Republic with universal male suffrage and ambitious social programs. The June Days Uprising, when Parisian workers fought against the closure of national workshops, revealed the depth of social tensions in rapidly industrializing France. Louis Napoleon Bonaparte's election as president in December 1848 capitalized on the Napoleon legend and widespread desire for order after revolutionary upheaval. His coup d'état of December 2, 1851, and the establishment of the Second Empire in 1852 returned France to authoritarian rule while maintaining universal suffrage and promoting economic modernization. Napoleon III's reign, 1852 to 1870, transformed France through ambitious public works projects, railway construction, and urban renovation. Baron Haussmann's reconstruction of Paris created the modern city's distinctive boulevards and architectural harmony while improving public health through better sewerage and water systems. The Suez Canal project and the development of department stores like Le Bon Marché demonstrated French participation in the emerging global economy. The Second Empire's foreign policy sought to restore French prestige through military interventions in the Crimean War, 1854 to 1856, the Italian Unification Wars, and the disastrous Mexican Adventure, 1862 to 1867. These campaigns achieved limited success but overextended French resources and created diplomatic isolation that would prove fatal in the crisis of 1870. The Franco-Prussian War, 1870 to 1871, exposed the Second Empire's military and diplomatic weaknesses. Napoleon III's declaration of war against Prussia in July 1870, motivated by concerns about Prussian expansion and domestic political pressures, proved to be a catastrophic miscalculation. The rapid defeat of French armies and the capture of Napoleon III at Sedan in September 1870 ended the Second Empire and led to the proclamation of the Third Republic. The Siege of Paris, 1870 to 1871, and the Paris Commune, 1871, demonstrated both French resilience and the deep social divisions that would continue to challenge the new republic. The Commune's radical experiment in democratic socialism terrified the conservative classes while inspiring socialist movements throughout Europe. The brutal suppression of the Commune by government forces left thousands dead and created lasting resentment between classes that would influence French politics for generations. By 1870, France had experienced revolution, republic, empire, restoration, and republic again within less than a century. This tumultuous period had transformed France from an absolute monarchy into a modern nation-state with democratic institutions, legal equality, and a dynamic economy, while also revealing the persistent tensions between order and liberty, tradition and progress, that would continue to shape French development.